My name's Brennan. I'm the Director and Principal Planner of Brennan Planning. So I come from a long background in local government planning experience, and I've worked in the development assessment areas and appeals management. What we'll cover tonight is we'll look into what a secondary dwelling or granny flat is, how to build a granny flat without council approval, how to optimise your granny flat, and we'll work through some examples that I've done recently with some of the local design consultants and builders. What is a secondary dwelling? Under the Noosa plan, the definition of a secondary dwelling, it fits within the definition of a dwelling house. A dwelling house, it's either one dwelling for a single household and any domestic outbuildings associated with the dwelling, or one dwelling for a single household, a secondary dwelling, and any associated outbuildings associated with either dwelling. A secondary dwelling means a dwelling, whether attached or detached, that is used in conjunction with and subordinate to the dwelling house in the same lot. So the important takes from that last sentence are that it needs to be used in conjunction with and subordinate to the main dwelling. You might be sharing driveways, you might be sharing water services, electricity services, you might have a common area on the property which both households use. There's different ways of exploring that. Nowhere in the planning scheme does it say that you can't lease that building separately. So how to build a granny flat without council approval? This is what we want to know. It's accepted development where you comply with the provisions of the planning scheme. So that means you don't need to put an application into council. You can just go straight through a building certifier and then you avoid the whole process. Under the Noosa plan, there's no longer a limitation on the distance that it may be from the main dwelling on the premises, which is a good change. That happened with the 2020 scheme. Previously it was within 25 metres of the main dwelling. There are, however, overlay provisions that may affect the siting of a secondary dwelling. So things such as whether there's protected vegetation on the property, whether there's riparian areas on the property. They've got a new agricultural land conservation overlay that's causing all sorts of problems, where you're within 200 metres of an adjoining property with agricultural land conservation area. It will trigger an application, unfortunately. So these are the built form provisions. It has a maximum gross floor area of 65 square metres, no more than 2 bedrooms, a height not exceeding 8 metres. It complies with setback provisions for that particular zone, and it has a gross floor area of combined buildings not exceeding 500 square metres. So where you're in the low density zone, 6 metres from the front, 1.5 from the sides, 3 from the rear. Medium density, it's quite similar except a 6 metre setback at the rear. Rural res or rural around Karoi, and they're both the same. So 10 metres from the front, 6 to 10 from the side, depending on your lot size. If you're less than 1 hectare, it's 6. If you're more, it's 10 metres. And that's the same for rear setbacks. How to optimise your granny flat. So gross floor area is the total of the internal floor areas. It's measured from the outside of the external walls. Decks, carports and garages, they don't constitute gross floor area. So you're better off designing your granny flat with that in mind and maximising large deck areas, maximising a big carport. You can have a 2-bay carport, 2-bay garage. I'd suggest putting your laundry and a bench at the back of the garage, and then it won't contribute to gross floor area. It can be connected to the house, but just maximise the use of that space. So these are some examples that we've worked through with some local designers. This was Steve Horn from Accolade Designs. He's a local Karoi designer. In this case, they've just got a huge single bedroom, ensuite and wardrobe area, breezeway in between, large alfresco, and they've got a kitchen laundry area on the other side. Just shows with your living areas, you basically doubled the space with your deck areas. This is one from the shed house. This one's quite a nice little concept. 2 bedrooms, shared bathroom, and then an open plan kitchen living area. They've got a large deck that all walks out onto then. 60 square metres internally, that one. This is a great little one from Little Digs. This one, you just got your open plan kitchen living dining area, your deck, bedroom, and it's got this nice little bunk room too. So if it was for family and it was for kids, that family with kids, then they can have the bunk room. And this was one for a friend of mine out in Lake McDonald, but I think it's the best of the floor plans. It's sort of nice and open and spacious. You've got your bedroom on either side of your open plan kitchen living dining area. Large deck, and in this case they have used the carport for the laundry, so it just shows you what you can do in that case. So I'll just work through a little bit of the process. As I was mentioning before, you can either go through the certification process. If you're fully complying, you just go to a building certifier and the approval happens. But if you're not complying, then you need the council application. You'll need a relaxation for what the particular outcome it's not meeting. And so that's when I might come into play and assist with lodging a development application to get that relaxation. And so the construction costs, they're likely to be between $2,100 to $3,000 per square metre for a turnkey secondary dwelling. That's based on local estimates I've been given. So timeframes, it can be up to 3 months with council if you do need that relaxation by the time it's lodged, or otherwise if you're going straight to a certifier, they could do it that day really. There's no time limit on that. They just file a notice of engagement to council and they can get started with the building approval process.
Okay, Mark, thank you so much everybody for coming tonight, and I hope that you've all gotten something out of it. Particularly huge thank you to Marcus for coming and sharing his knowledge with us. So